Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today's a pretty special one, but I just want to remind you of last week's video where we took a cinematic look at the 20 gallon. I'll leave a card above for that right now, and if you haven't checked it out, be sure to and let me know what you think to this tank. I personally think it's looking awesome. Today however, we are switching out the 10 gallon and changing the aquascape, taking a look at a number of things including some hardscape practice, some boiling of wood, and then taking out all the plants from this tank, changing the scape and adding them all back in. So let's get it going. Alright, so as I'm sure you can tell, this tank isn't quite looking like how it just was in the previous shot. The water sprite has got a little bit overgrown, some of the other plants have got overgrown, and it's actually affecting the growth of some of the Monte Carlo and other plants towards the bottom of the tank, even though the betta fish is loving it. What we're going to go through first though is how I prepared the wood. Obviously I'm going to be adding some wood to this tank, as I want it to be a little bit more like a jungle. So to do this, I ended up getting a kettle. A kettle is something that we use a lot in England, although my wife had actually never used one. Basically, it just boils water, saves you putting water in the microwave or something like that when you want to make a cup of tea or coffee, which obviously people do a boatload in England. So, gonna boil the water, and then all we're basically gonna do is throw that water over the wood into the bucket, and the main thing that this is going to do is help release some of the tannins out of the wood, so I'm not getting that murky black water look once I put the wood into the aquarium. Some people like it, but for this specific scape I want the water to be crystal clear, so everybody that is viewing the tank is going to get a real good look at it. Some people online say that boiling the wood will make it degrade a little bit quicker, but for this specific case I'm not too worried about that. So throw that water into the wood. I'll fill the bucket up about 3/4 of the way to the point where a lot of the wood is submerged, and at that point that is also going to help waterlog the wood, so less of it floats when you do actually put it in the tank and fill the tank up, which is a massive bonus as well, because then you can focus solely on scaping rather than worrying about the wood floating. After that, I then used some of the flourish glue to glue some of the slate onto the wood, and then I started scaping in my little practice tank. I decided to use some of the wife and kittens little natural litter to better use, and used it to practice my scape. This is pretty much what I came up with, just because it has a lot of depth and a lot of layers to it, and overall I was really happy with it. Might end up turning it around a little bit depending on how much space I've got, because I've obviously still got to put some rocks in. After I did that, I decided to take a few photos of this layout just so I could remember it when I eventually took all the wood out of the tank and went upstairs to scape it. I took it from all different angles so I could remember the specific types of wood that we're then going to put in the tank. After that, opened up a photo app, edited a little bit, and that gave me some kind of idea what I was thinking for this scape. Then I went upstairs and got ready to start breaking down this tank, and first we're going to take some of the livestock out, so let's get that going. Marvus came to say hi, so he's a little helper for this project, although to be honest I think he's just going to get in the way, but we'll soon see. At this point in the process, I didn't want to stress out the livestock in the tank too much more, so I decided to get a net and catch the beta out first. I then caught a shrimp and then I caught a snail, put them all into a bucket with pretty much a sponge filter attached to it just to keep air circulating, and then I later put some plants in and stuff like that. But that's pretty much how it was looking after catching the livestock and taking out more of the water. The fish, the shrimp and the snail are all in this little holding bucket right now. I put some sand in there as well because that'll be going back into the tank. And here we've got the jungle, which, as you can see, has a lot of work left to do on it. So let's start tackling that and take out all the plants, starting first with a water sprite, and as you can see, it is incredibly overgrown. So all the plants are out, the beta fish and the rest of the livestock are in that bucket. Plants are in here, and as you can see, the tank is looking pretty unrecognizable. Left the Monte Carlo and some of the S-Repens in there. Decided to keep this rockscape because I really like it, and I think this little middle section here is going to be awesome once I put the sand back in and clean it up a little bit as a little pathway, and I think it will be able to fit in with the scape that I initially created downstairs, with some minor tweaks. After that, I decided just to crack on with the hardscape. It took me a decent amount of time with all the movement of a few of the rocks and obviously the wood, and this is what we came up with. Really, really happy with it. I think it creates a lot of movement in the tank. I think your eyes getting drawn into certain situations. On this left side, through that middle toward the back there, obviously through the middle where the sand path's going to be, and then we've got a little bit of a lower right hand side of the tank there. We've got some protruding logs coming out of the tank, which was a must for this one. So really, really happy with that. And about an hour later, this is what we're looking like. We got a lot of the plants put back in there. Again, didn't really feel like it was necessary to show you this part. And now we're going to get to filling up the tank. We're using the Fritz ACCR and obviously treating it for the aquarium's full capacity, even though we kept some of the water because I didn't want it to be such a shock for the fish. So we ended up taking about 5 gallons out of containers that are saved, that the fish have been held in, and then some other containers, and the rest of it will be from the tap. So it'll just be like a normal significant weekly water change. So let's crack on with that, and then I'll show you the tank when it's full. So after tweaking a few things, moving a few of the logs around and cleaning up the sand substrate, we got the tank as full as what we felt we could for right now, because we're still going to make some slight tweaks. Put the betta fish in. He started swimming straight away, which is how you know you didn't shock him too much temperature wise. Then we put the shrimp in, then we put the snail in. Snail goes in right there on that rock. Just wanted to make sure that he was solid, so put him obviously belly down, because nearite snails can sometimes have issues if you don't put them in too friendly. We then put the shrimp in, and then it was time to fill up the tank the rest of the way. And overall at this point I was really happy with it. Got the filter going, got the surface skimmer going, which will help clean up the tank, because as you can see it is fairly murky now. You're always going to have that when you redo a tank, as it's near enough impossible to do it without disturbing the substrate. A few days later I decided to put some moss on a lot of the tree work and the branches in the aquarium, and a few days later, once the moss had got used to its new tank, this is how it looks. Let me know what you think in the comments. I personally love it. Let me know what you think. Alright guys, so essentially this part of the video is where I beg for likes. Not even going to deny that. If you did enjoy this video, please leave it in the comments, leave me a like, share this video, really does help to promote the channel. New year, new aims. My aim is to try and get to 10k before 2021. If you could help me do that individually, that would be awesome. And at the least, like this video and comment down below. Thank you all for the support. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.